These are the candidates running for student body president and vice president for the 2020-2021 academic year.
Hi, my name is Jacob Long. I am the Student Senate Pro Tempore of the Student Government Association at UNC Charlotte. I am a senior political science major with minors in American Studies and History. On campus, I used to be involved with the Student Niner Media. I am the vice president of the North Carolina Student Legislature, as well as a few other organizations on campus.
Hi, my name is Dick Beekman. I'm a freshman. I'm currently serving as the freshman class president in student government. I am a finance and economics double major. My current involvement on campus is I'm in emerging leaders, the Sigma Chi fraternity, the Miltmore Hall leadership team, and the Student Veteran Association.
Hi everyone, my name is Talia Sampson and I'm running for student body president. I am a rising junior majoring in political science with a minor in legal studies. Here at UNC Charlotte, I am very involved. I am a Niner guide, so I give tours once a week to prospective students and their families and helping them decide to stake their claim here at UNC Charlotte. I am also a SAFE counselor, so I mentor 2 to 3 incoming freshmen during their first year here and in helping them navigate the stresses and excitements of being a freshman at UNC Charlotte. I also sit on the Campus Accessibility Advisory Committee, and so what we do is we go to different buildings and departments on campus and find ways that building is not handicap accessible. Being someone who does not have any disabilities, it's quite easy to maneuver around campus, so you don't really see those barriers that other students may face. And so the purpose of that committee is to eliminate all of those barriers as much as possible.
Hey guys, my name is Vince Graham. I'm running with your future president, Talia Sampson. I'll be her vice president. I'm a sophomore business major with a concentration in finance and a Spanish minor.
So our campaign platform is Breaking Barriers, and as student body president and vice president, Vince and I are aware of all the limitations and stresses that students may face being a student at UNC Charlotte, and we want to break those limitations as much as possible through our campaign platform of precision, investment, and equity. We firmly believe that every student at UNC Charlotte deserves an equitable experience and representation that will go above and beyond for them, and we believe that Vince and I are the two to get the job done.
Zachary Mazug and Gabby Hitchcock are also running for student body president and vice president. What issues concerning campuses across the state and the nation do you want to tackle on UNC Charlotte's campus?
So one of the issues that Jacob and I are most concerned about is the rising cost of college. It used to be back in the day you could work your way through college and you didn't even need student loans. Nowadays students are getting crushed by student loans and are really concerned if they're going to be able to pay them off in the future. One of the things that we want to focus on in our administration is making sure that college is affordable for students and that money is being spent in a useful and resourceful manner, and to ensure that students are getting the highest quality education possible without any frivolous spending that's going to just burden them down after they graduate.
What is one area within the university you think needs the most improvement, and how would you go about advocating for a solution?
One area within our university that Vince and I feels needs the most improvement is our approach to mental health and disability. Mental health and disability are 2 of the most touchy subjects within our society, and not just within our UNC Charlotte campus. As student body president and vice president, Vince and I plan to eliminate those stigmas as much as possible. To start, a lot of students have expressed their concerns with making appointments for the counseling and psychological services. As of right now, students are required to make a phone call into the office to schedule those appointments. For a lot of students, this makes them uncomfortable because they're talking to a stranger over the phone about making an appointment towards their mental health. As student body president and vice president, Vince and I plan to work with CAPS and try to find a way to implement that online scheduling option for our students. Our next approach is those with disabilities. So our campus puts on events almost every single week for our student body. We want to make sure those events are equitable for our students with disabilities. So whether that's changing sound and lighting, making sure that those events are wheelchair accessible as much as possible. We want to make sure that we are providing an equitable experience for all of our students at UNC Charlotte.
I think one of the biggest areas that needs development on campus is business services, which include things like parking or meal plans. I think the way we need to go about it is looking at ways to maximize the student experience and reduce costs at the same time. So while students do have to pay for a parking pass on campus, we can certainly fight against raising the cost of that parking pass, or fight for a meal plan system that's more inclusive of all students as well as cost effective for students. So to go about it at the Board of Trustees, we can try to sit down and come up with a system which helps the university provide funding for its essential operations, as well as ensure students have to pay as little as possible.
Over the past few years, there have been several student movements calling for change on campus. How would you guarantee that the students' opinions and concerns are heard?
A good way to make sure all students are heard across this vast campus is to invite our fellow Niners to our executive meetings and highly recommend them to visit Senate meetings. That way, both branches can see the problem and fix the problem. Over the past few years, I've heard branches have had a very poor connection, and this is how we solve it: by working together to support our student body and demand change from administration at UNC Charlotte.
I would say this question goes back to engagement, engaging the student body, ensuring that we're hearing their voices, that their voices are understood, and then engaging with school administrators through regular meetings, conversations, and talks in order to ensure that the student voices are getting to the highest level of the university, that the university hears their voices, understand what's going on, what the concern is, and then works on behalf of the students in order to make solutions.
How do you plan to help the new chancellor acclimate to UNC Charlotte?
So during our State of the University, Chancellor Dubois stated that he wanted to allow the new chancellors to start their own traditions and own unique track here at UNC Charlotte. As student body president and vice president, you are the student liaisons from our students to our faculty and staff. And so in those roles, we plan to help aid the new chancellor into our student perspectives and our student atmosphere here at UNC Charlotte. We also plan to work with key student stakeholders and those specifically within our chancellor's cabinet, people such as our vice chancellor for student affairs, Dr. Bailey, our athletic director, Mike Hill, and then as well as our vice chancellor for academic affairs, Joan Morden.
I think the best way to get our new chancellor involved with our students across campus is to have them walk around and hang out with students, to go to a football game with students, and to just spend time with them, get to know them, and be involved across all aspects of UNC Charlotte. Across the UNC system, having an active chancellor which can engage with students is what separates campuses from one another. And I think if we can get our new chancellor to be involved with students, go to student events, and be connected with students, that's really going to set our students up for long-term success.
The current administration had to deal with emergencies at the beginning and end of their administration. How do you plan to deal with crises like these within your control?
Dealing with a crisis takes communication, which me and Talia have. Our administration plans to be as transparent as possible with the entire UNC Charlotte student body. We will notify the student body of any news we receive first, especially if it brings any drastic or critical changes. Putting the students first will be a clear goal for our administration. We will work closely with all UNC Charlotte departments and make sure the students have a constant flow of news. What's going on, we have you covered. Your security is our priority.
So this question for me goes back to relationships. Whenever a situation comes up, whether it's planned or unexpected, such as the tragic events of April 30th or the current situation surrounding coronavirus, it's important in order for student voices to be heard that we have those relationships with the administration so that we're able to work towards a solution. Jacob and I have developed over the course of our time in student government those relationships, and we would ensure that we use those relationships so that we can all come through this tragic event, whatever it may be in the future, still together as a Niner family.
The event of April 30th will have a lasting impact on the UNC Charlotte community. How do you plan on making sure the university is recognized appropriately as student body president and vice president?
The event of April 30th affected everyone at UNC Charlotte, and it will constantly be a day that sits in the hearts of our university. As student body president and vice president, Vince and I plan to be very intentional when organizing that day and paying our love and respect to the families of those who were affected. And we plan to work hand in hand with the new chancellor and various student organizations when organizing that day, whether that's reaching out to art students to paint a mural or music and dance students to create a performance. We believe that planning that day shouldn't just be ran by a small group of faculty and staff, but our student body as a whole, because we didn't go through that day alone. No one went through that day alone. We came together as a family, so it's only right that we plan and organize that anniversary as a family.
The April 30th shooting was one of the worst days in UNC Charlotte's history. It's a day that students across this campus and the community will remember for the foreseeable future. I think in helping plan the immediate vigil right after the shooting, something I learned was the shooting while it's about students, it's not about students. It's about remembering Riley and Reed and all the affected victims, the people in the classroom, the people on campus, the first responders. So I think moving forward, I will work with the university administration to find a way to each year and for the years to come, try to find the best way possible to remember Riley, remember Reed, and all the affected victims that day.
UNC Charlotte has 29,000 students and there are only 2 of you. How do you plan to be a voice for all students?
The administration has been told that 9 Times is opening a podcast for all students, and we would love to give you guys weekly updates on what the administration is doing. Also, we plan on putting SGA out there, co-hosting events with other organizations. We do technically do this through the Organizational Ways and Means Committee, which is OWAM, part of the legislative branch, but SGA members don't necessarily go out to these events, and we would like to change that. You guys, if we were to go out, which we plan on going out with our administration, we plan on taking legislative, judicial, and our own branch members to these events. You guys can ask us questions on what concerns you, what questions you have on the administration, etc. This could lead to legislation that the Senate proposes, which goes to the executive branch, which could impact the student body in good ways.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And Jacob and I are committed to having a cabinet full of people that represent the diverse population that makes up UNC Charlotte. We believe that diversity is important in ensuring that everybody's voices are heard so that we're able to understand the voices, concerns, and opinions of all those 29,000 students on UNC Charlotte's campus.
What issues do you see with the marketing and branding of UNC Charlotte, and how do you plan to work with the new chancellor or helping UNC Charlotte become more well-respected regionally and nationally?
Our administration is all about Niner Nation. We're trying to expand that Niner love within our own student body. Some ways we will do this is by working closely with the chancellor, show them a few traditions, or creating a 49er tradition committee within SGA. Branding and marketing wise, we are struggling. Within our own airport, in our own backyard, I see more gear from other schools in North Carolina rather than our own. I don't see any 49er gear outside of Charlotte very often. We want to work with the marketing and branding department to consider having some stores outside of Charlotte to possibly carry our gear in larger cities such as Raleigh, Greensboro, or neighboring cities. It also begins with having an amazing sports program, which our athletic director Mike Hill has done an excellent job at. Our football team with Will Healy has recently just made a bowl game. Unfortunately, we lost to Buffalo, but we'll be there next year and actually carry home a W.
So one of the issues I see around marketing and branding and that relevance question is I see us on paper as UNC Charlotte, and I feel that a lot of the perception around the state and the nation is that we're not the UNC. We are not the first choice, when in my opinion that we are just as good, if not better, than Chapel Hill in many ways. I would encourage the new administration to seriously consider dropping the UNC and UNC Charlotte and simply have us as Charlotte. We're representative of the city. We're representative of all it has to offer, and that it would be something that separates us and makes us stand out on both the state and national level.
A stance on dropping the UNC or rebranding the university.
To continue what Dick was saying, I think with our current branding situation, the problem isn't necessarily that we are UNC Charlotte. The problem is that Chapel Hill goes by UNC. Because they go by UNC in athletics, I think that it creates confusion between not only our campus, but all the campuses. I think that there's a reason Appalachian State isn't UNC Boone. There's a reason NC State isn't UNCR. I think it's time that UNC Charlotte reevaluates its current branding situation and comes up with a new name that is less confusing and is more representative of the impact we have on this community. We are Charlotte, and we are strong without UNC Chapel Hill.
So being a part of the UNC system is being a part of the community. Our campus is constantly growing. We have enrollment increasing. Athletics is getting better and better. We currently have a hotel that's being built on our campus right now. So there's no doubt that UNC Charlotte is one of the best schools within North Carolina. Because of all the advancement that we have going on, our university has more recognition than it did 5-10 years ago. I believe that dropping the UNCC name and rebranding will only slow down our growth. If you think about marketing and logos and everything that goes into changing a name of our university would be very expensive. Instead, I think we should focus on bettering our university as it is and putting our money and ideas towards continuing to build growth within our university. Changing the name will not only affect current UNC Charlotte students, but alumni as well, and we have to take their opinions into consideration.
A lot of the work done by the student body president is behind the scenes with multiple opportunities provided throughout the year. How do you best manage time, and what does your commitments look like for the next academic year?
The work done by student body president is behind the scenes. You're required to sit on several campus boards and committees, as well as hold office hours so that students and faculty can come by and talk to you about whatever they may have on their minds. Vince and I plan to do weekly pub blasts to let our students know what information we are being told from our faculty and staff, as well as creating a podcast that students are able to listen to. That way they can hear the information we are being told, as well as allow different organizations to pub and let our student body know what events they may have going on. To answer the next part of your question, this coming academic year, I plan to continue to be a Niner guide, so giving tours once a week to prospective students and their families and helping them decide to stake their claim here at UNC Charlotte. I also plan to continue to be a SAFE counselor, so mentoring 2 to 3 incoming freshmen during their first year here at UNC Charlotte. Overall, as a candidate, I am fully aware of the responsibilities that I will have to uphold in my role as student body president. I plan to be very strategic and intentional when planning my weeks out and making sure that I'm holding myself accountable in the role as student body president.
As me, I love online classes. I spend very little time actually physically on campus. But what this means is by taking online classes, I am essentially free every day of the week, Monday through Sunday. So if elected, I have ample time to meet the demands and duties of the student body president position and board of trustee member. If it's attending various events with the new administration, if it is going to other events on campus, I am more than able and willing to do so in the future.
To know more about the candidates, you can read the articles from our website or visit the SGA website with links in the description box of this video. The election will be open at vote.uncc.edu for March 24th at 8 a.m. to March 25th at 5 p.m.